All right. Very excited today to introduce everybody to another one of our authors. This is Heidi Parr Kerner, and she just published her book today. So we're very excited about that. Congratulations, Heidi.
Thank you so much, and for walking me through every single step of the way. So this is it.
Yeah. So I'm Corey Walmsley. I'm the CEO of Aurora Coriolis Publishing. And today we're going to be talking to Heidi about her book, Step Into Your Spotlight. So Heidi, welcome. Tell us a little bit about yourself and about your book.
Well, basically, to tell you a little bit about myself is that I'm a coach, and I like to call myself an empowerment coach, a visibility coach, supporting mostly women. I work with men as well, but mostly women in taking their business personally and professionally to the next level. So my whole thing is, how can I help people to feel heard, to be more comfortable in their own skin, to be more confident through presentation skills, sales training, and doing things like this, being interviewed and putting themselves out there on video. So yes, this is my baby. This is my first book. It's been haunting me for a long time. But I'm very proud of it. Step Into Your Spotlight. So with all of your help and your team. So a shout out to Corey and her team. It's been amazing to work with. So I'm very grateful.
Oh, thank you so much. Allison is actually on. I just saw her pop up.
Hi, Allison, the editing queen. I call her my angel. She's my little cheerleader.
Yes, Allison did a fabulous job on your book, and Karen, of course, with the cover. That is a gorgeous cover. We've had so many compliments on that one.
Yes, all of your team members have been great, and Kelly's doing the PR, so it's a one-stop shop. So yes, I could turn the interview around on you.
Well, maybe we'll do that another time.
Okay.
So you were talking about your work as a coach, and helping people be able to actually do things like what we're doing right now. I know many women and men too, of course, don't feel comfortable getting on and just doing live video like this. I do it all the time. I know you do it all the time. People like us, they see us and they think, oh my God, they were just born knowing how to do this. And that's why we needed your book, because no, in fact, we were not born knowing how to do this. And Heidi opens up and tells us all about her whole journey to get where she is today. So that is something I really loved about this book, how open you were and how you talked about this. And I wanted to ask you, what first inspired you to write your book?
Well, that's a really good question. What inspired me at this point? Because I'm seasoned, and being a speaker and being a coach, 25 years ago, people are saying you should have the book, you should have the book. But just one, getting older, and then two, I've worked with thousands of people and creating and helping them in a safe space with I like to call my unique tools and tips in making a difference. So many women who wanted to play bigger in their life. And it doesn't mean we have to be on video or on stage, just living their best life, living their dreams. And I'm still playing small, because even though I have my beautiful clients and my wonderful community, I saw so many changes with just little things that I'm like, you know what? I really want to put that in a book format, because so many of the women, I would say, well, let's just create a vision board. And they would say, what's that? Or let's play the game Act As If, or let's take off our mask. And they didn't understand those tools. I'm like, you know what? How dare me? And this is the mindset that I had to come from as a recovering introvert. How dare me hold that to myself? So again, in the book, I share so many tools and tips and inspiration, even for gals that have been seasoned and have done their personal growth work. So I was inspired by my clients and inspired by my beautiful nieces, who I wanted to leave. It's kind of my legacy. It's like, this is your aunt. They call me Aunt Hilda. So for Aunt Hilda, my stories, and as you know, there's a lot of stories, and there's some juicy, that we won't go into all of the details right now. We have to leave a little tease, right?
Yeah, definitely. We want people excited to go read that. So I love the idea of leaving a legacy and being able to get this to more people than, just the people who you speak to every day and just the people who you work with as clients, because it is important for more people to get their hands on these tools. So, bravo for you doing this because that is such an important thing to get out there. I wanted to talk a little bit more about some of the work you do with women, because I know that that impacted what you wrote about in your book, and you actually shared some of the different stories and changed their names, of course, but shared some of the stories about women who you worked with and how they overcame challenges.
Yes. So how I work a lot is either one-on-one, or I do something called, many people are familiar with the words mastermind group, or basically a women's empowerment group. And again, because I like to have fun, I'll call it the Queen's Academy or a Diamond Divas. And usually it's anywhere from a 6-month program to a year program. And I do this also for corporate women. And again, what I do is what I bring to the table from my background as a therapist. So I am a therapist. I've worked with people and I'm big into role playing, but I talk about this in the book, an actress, a frustrated actress you'll hear about, and some of the theater games. And what I love doing with these women that make it a little more unique is the art of play and the art of changing your costume, how you dress, the art of getting authentic and taking off your mask and being who you truly are. These are the skills, the working with women one-on-one or in group, that I bring to the table so they again can play big, as the book says, bigger in their life. And what does that mean? Sometimes an executive wants to play bigger by just going for interviews and getting, moving up the career track. I have stay-at-home moms that I work with that want to speak up at their PTA meeting or say no to that needy friend. It doesn't always have to be. And then I work, you said, like a lot of entrepreneurs. I had a women's group last night online, actually. And one of the issues that came up is I'm afraid to do videos because what will people think? We all have that inside. I have that inside, but I talk about it in the book, how I overcame that or continue to overcome it. So it's the inner game that we have to work on as well as the outer game. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that was really good. And I wanted to comment on a couple things. First of all, I was at a networking meeting the other day where people were talking about how they don't feel comfortable doing video and they don't feel comfortable doing, even a selfie sometimes. So yes, these tools are very impactful. And two, you were talking in the book about, and just now about, changing your appearance just a hair. Like you don't have to step super outside of your comfort zone, but just putting on like some red lipstick and how that can change the way you feel about yourself. And I know, we just came out of a pandemic. I don't know if we're still in it or if we are over it or what we're doing.
Right.
But, so many of us decided like, all right, this is time for loungewear. And I invested in my loungewear, and there's just the difference you feel from putting on loungewear and changing into, just a nice shirt and jeans and doing some makeup. Like that can make you feel like such a different person. And I love that that's something that you talk about, like just these little bitty changes. It doesn't have to be like go out and buy a whole new wardrobe, get a wig and, become another person. You're still you.
You're still you, exactly. And again, especially with the pandemic, so many of us can get into like not making the bed, working at home. Now I know you work at home. I've been working at home for 25 years. And I learned this a long time ago, that you just dress the part, act the piece. So for example, just this little piece, like you're saying, wearing a little bit of lipstick, because I know some women are like, oh, I don't feel like it or whatever. So one of the tools that I use, it's called a role play. So we sit in a group circle and I go around the circle and I ask everybody, who's a role model in your life? Who's somebody that when you look at them, you're like, I love their energy, or I love the way they dress, or I love the way they carry themselves. So the homework assignment, which sounds easy, but it's more challenging, is they come to the group the following week and they must dress and act the part of that role model. But what's fascinating for them and for me and for the other women is there was something inside of them that was unleashed by giving them permission to play. And again, not that they have to fully embody that role model person, but what was the piece that gave them more confidence, that gave them a little more charisma? And I have seen tremendous changes by that little exercise. So it's using, again, theater, it's using play and having fun.
Yeah. And I love how fun you make it. It's not a chore to step up a little bit. So that is fantastic. I did want to ask too, so I've read this book multiple times because I'm Heidi's publisher, so I get
Yeah, and part of my editing, yes.
I get to do that. So I've read it lots of times, and there are so many nuggets of wisdom and so many like fun stories in there. And I was wondering, what was your favorite part to write about?
Well, that's a really good question. My favorite part was, you're in Pittsburgh, I'm in Erie, Pennsylvania right now, but I did live out in Los Angeles for 20 years. And being a writer, now that I'm a writer, you really have to go back and be in the moment. You cannot just write from your head. You have to feel those feelings and emotions. And going back to the 80s in Hollywood, where we all dressed like Madonna and driving up and down Sunset Boulevard and in the disco, just going back to those days where I was starting my career as a therapist, getting my master's in psychology in my 20s, but having fun, living in an apartment that looked like Melrose Place. That's one of the chapters of my book, and dabbling in the acting, getting on 30 somethings. So that was really just light and fun. That was one piece. And then the second piece is the transition of coming back to Erie and meeting my future husband at our high school reunion. But then when I met him at the ripe old age of 43, so there's hope for any of my single gals out there, that we had this wonderful year, romantic relationship of back and forth. He would come to Los Angeles and I would come back to Erie, and all those juicy restaurants in Los Angeles that I always wanted that hot date to go with. It was him, and just how exciting it was to meet the love of my life. So those brought me so much joy and so many memories to just go back there and to relive those moments.
Yeah. Oh, that's so wonderful. And I will say, for those of you who haven't seen the book yet, there are some amazing pictures of Heidi in there from her modeling days and her acting and like all of that stuff. So you get to take like a little trip down memory lane with her too.
Yes, a little journey down memory lane.
Yeah. So that was a lot of fun. And then, on the flip side, because you share so many stories that are deep, that are real, whenever we are sharing a part of ourselves, a lot of times it can be very heavy. We always, post stuff on social media. Oh, I'm winning at this, I'm winning at that, I'm doing wonderful. And we know that there are things behind the scenes. And one of the things you did such a great job of was dipping down a little bit and saying, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. Here's some of the stuff I was going through, and these are some of my actual feelings, because we're real humans and we want to see that. And I know you did a wonderful job of that. So I did want to ask too, on the flip side, what was more challenging for you to share?
Well, I think, first of all, writing a book was challenging. Just the fact of, again, Corey, being a speaker and actor, I rather cry and act it all out on stage. To write down the feelings and to be committed to get the stories and to be committed to be vulnerable, that I wanted to be real. I want to walk my talk. I teach all my women, take off that mask, be yourself. So as I made that commitment to myself, that I didn't want to hold back. So the challenging parts, a couple that stand out, the two that still make me teary when I read the book still is, after I meet my future husband and he whisks me back to Erie, and I'm like, I'm 43 at that point. I say to myself, I've done my personal growth work. I'm good. I finally deserve the guy. And now life is just going to be wonderful. All the struggles I had in LA, forget about it. I didn't realize that going into twofold, coming back home to Erie, was going to be so challenging at first, coming back to my hometown. So I came back to Erie, like, here I am. I've been gone for 20 years, kind of with that energy. And the folks in the area were kind of like, who are you and why are you here? I wasn't sort of embraced as I thought I would be.
Yeah.
In Los Angeles, I've learned a little secret along the way. When you live in a big city, it's very transient. So people, I think, are much more open and willing to embrace you. And I was like, ooh, I felt a lot of rejection. I mean, all these people loved me in LA, and I was the queen of networking. So that was painful and rejection. And I really dug into my inner work of not taking things personally. I learned who the clients I should be serving are, who the clients I should not. I learned about how to meet an audience where they were instead of just coming in at them. I did a lot more work. That was challenging. That still gets me teary-eyed. Why didn't they love me at first? But now I've created the divas and they love me, right? Divas, do I have any divas on? The second piece that's very deep, and I know it's at the end. And I think even Corey, you mentioned when you were reading my book, like, hello, that came out of left field. But when I did marry this beautiful man, Philip, I married into a blended family, and I didn't realize that it wasn't pertinent at the time, is that addiction would be very rampant in the household with the kids. And so to deal with that, and I know so many people, and I wanted to be real with it because so many people are dealing with addiction themselves or a loved one. And my whole thing is, I talk about this in the book, when you're dealing with someone you loved or your children who are dealing with addiction, there's three things that will happen. They'll go to jail, they'll go into recovery, or they'll die. And I had all three happen. So woo, that was like my wake-up call. So that was hard, of course, talking about that, because it's like, oh, but it's like, I know there's other people out there suffering, and there's hope at the end. There's incredible hope, even though you go through some of those painful things.
Yeah. I think it was wonderful the way that I know we did a little bit of extra shaping on
Yes.
that
Yes.
piece, and the way it ended up. I do love that the hope was there at the end, and everything, again, everything's not rainbows and sunshine, but the way things came back together at the end, I thought that was just beautiful how you shared that. Yeah.
There's always hope. There's always hope, and that's the message underneath the book. Where do you want to play bigger? And you can get there, and you can get there with your sisters. We need to talk about the sisters.
Yes, we do. Yes. So for those of you who haven't read the book yet, Heidi talks about her sisters in the book. And this was just a clever way of talking about these personality traits that you need to develop. And I thought it was super cute the way you did it too. So there are obviously there are a lot of these real raw moments in the book, but then Heidi talks about how she worked with her sisters to be able to overcome some of those challenges. And so I did want to ask you, first of all, can you talk a little bit about the sisters? Let's dive into that a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because I was just even thinking of this the other day, and I don't know if I'm alone in this, but I think because being young, the oldest though of 6 kids, so I want to say alone a lot because my mom was busy. She had kids one after another. So I became the mother's helper. And I had like one of those little imaginary friends. Am I the only one that has? I'm always scared to ask that. So her name was Jane. Jane. And my mother had to feed her in the whole bed. So it was the safety. So I think maybe that's where the sisters came from. So this imaginary friend. So when I was so shy growing up, and I know people are always like, how can that be, Heidi? You're a motivational speaker. You're out there. You put yourself out there. I was such an introvert and such a geek. And I talk about in the book that my mother would used to bribe me with money if I would just say hello to the boy at the bus stop, Ben, because I never talked to him for years. And I saw the writing on the wall, and I was already in 9th grade. And I'm like, I was in the geeky clique, and I knew that that wasn't going to change. And when my father said, he came home one day and he said, I lived in Syracuse, New York, by the way. And he said, we're moving to Erie, Pennsylvania. Like a typical teenager, I freaked out. I'm not going. But then this whispering started saying, nobody knows you at the new school. Nobody knows that you're a geek. You've been watching those popular girls for a long time. Again, act as if, how they dress, how they walk, how they talk. I wanted that so desperately. Those girls that I watched when they walked into a room, all the girls wanted to be their friends, all the boys wanted to go steady with them. And I'm like, that's what I want. So this whispering said, you can do this. You can do this. And that's what I'm like, well, I need confidence. Act as if I need charisma. I need to start smiling more. I need to be approachable. I need to be warm. And courage. Can I walk into the new school like it's a red carpet? And those three sisters, my imaginary friends, but it helps me to kind of separate them and say, when do I need them? And I use them to this day based on where I need them. I need a little more. I mean, I feel like all of us, I don't care how great we are in business, in different areas of our life, we need more courage. We need more charisma. We need more confidence. So to call on those sisters to help. And I know they've helped me, and many of the women that I've shared that with, they help them as well.
That is such a cool story that you recognize that at that age too. I know for me in the past, I've wanted to do things and I've been like, oh, this person's already doing that, I'm going to mimic them. But I don't think I had that level of awareness. It's just I'm going to watch them and then I'm going to do it exactly the way they're doing it. I never was like, oh, I need more confidence. It was more like, I'm just going to do what they're doing.
Right. Well, when you're young, you don't think of those words. I don't think I had the words that, I mean, I wouldn't look in the mirror and be like, you can do this, you're great. I didn't know at the time, like now I call them affirmations.
Yeah.
I was doing mirror work, but I didn't call it that because I didn't know at 15 years old.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so cool. I'm going to share some of the comments that people have been
Oh, good.
blowing up the feed with.
Okay.
So Rochelle's watching. Hi, Rochelle. She says hello, and she's so excited for this. And she says the cover is amazing and the tools are priceless. And Rochelle, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Allison says hello and she sends her love. And she says your energy makes whatever you're doing joyful. And I think that is absolutely an important point to the book too, is that your energy is really what gets you through all these things. And that energy comes from the three sisters and being able to say, all right, I need to bring in some confidence because I am not there.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for everyone who has been watching. So I did want to ask you one more question here. Who would most benefit from reading this book?
Well, I love that question. Who would benefit? And I'm going to go into one more quick little story because I don't want to just say everybody. It's first of all, you have to be in a personal growth journey. You have to want to go to the next level. And even if you're going to get out of your comfort zone, and we talk about the comfort zone, and I am going to push you out of the comfort zone because I push myself every day out of the comfort zone. But recently, or I should say this past summer, I had my nieces, they were all here and we had a nice dinner. And my nieces are ranging from age 14 to about 23. And I was almost testing the three sisters on them. They hadn't heard about the three sisters. So this is a young group of women. And I had them go, I told them what the three sisters stood for. And we went around the room and I said, which sister do you think you need more of? When I was shocked, surprised, and excited about is each one of them spoke up and never missed a beat. Like, well, what do you mean? They were like, I need more confidence because when people tell me, that I'm not doing a good job, blah, 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 or I need more courage because I know I'm holding back. And these were young women, again, 14, teenagers in the early 20s. So who is the book for? I mean, they've been so excited for the book and have already embraced the sisters. So, and many of the tools that I've been teaching them since they were young. And again, I'm in my early 60s. I still work with women who are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s who are like, I'm not done yet. I want to play bigger. So for any woman, and men can read it as well, but for any woman that really just says, you know what, I need a little inspiration. What I'm loving about women who have done their personal growth work, who are seasoned like myself, who are actually coaches, they read it and they're like, I forgot about that. I need to be reminded, or aha, that was new.
Mhm.
So I know for me, I need motivation and inspiration every day. So I hope and trust that through my journey and kind of taking you through my ups and downs and sharing the nuggets that I have learned along the way and have proven with other women to help that women that just feeling like they need a little bit more, maybe something a little different and a little creative to support them in playing out their life in a bigger way and listening to that whispering in their soul. If there's a whispering in your soul that's like you want more, there's a dream tapped inside of you, and I want you to unleash it. And that's what I want to hear from the women who read the book.
I love that. And I also love that you talked about the journey, because we are never, ever at the end point until we're at the actual end point. We never stop growing and learning and stepping more and more into ourselves and into what we want. And that can change. And I love that your book is something that can help people, no matter where they are on that journey, to continue to grow and continue to be more authentic and amazing.
Mm-hmm. Thank
Awesome.
you. It took courage. My sister Courage was with me to be authentic and brave. So yeah, so thank you so much for having me, Corey, and for being such a role model, and for you helping all of us that we have a story locked inside of us and having this team that gets that message out there into the world. I mean, so that's an amazing gift right there.
Well, thank you. I'm so glad that we could help get this book out, because I know it's going to help a lot of people. I did want to read one more comment on here. First of all, Allison says, oh, I love the sisters. And then Rochelle says, Heidi brings so much value to each conversation and coaching session. So
Thank you. Thanks, Rochelle. Thank you.
awesome.
And to everybody listening, and I know some people will be listening to the recording as well, I believe.
Yeah. If you do watch this later, and obviously we aren't going to be sitting here all day waiting, but if you put a comment or a question, we will make sure that either Heidi or I answers it.
Yes.
Also, today, February 22nd, 2023, is launch day. And I just wanted to mention before we get off of here that right now we're at number, I think, 22 in one of the categories. So we are getting very excited because it's getting closer to number one. We're going for bestseller with Heidi's book, Step Into Your Spotlight. Can you hold up your book again so everybody can see it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so today, as a launch day special, we have the ebook version of this for just 99 cents. So if you go over to Amazon and get the ebook version, you're helping us hit bestseller, which would be awesome. And you get these amazing tools for yourself for just 99 cents. I'm going to be dropping a link in the comments. And again, thank you, Heidi, for joining me today. You had so many wonderful nuggets of wisdom to share. And, we are so excited to get the book in everybody's hands.
Absolutely. Thank you. And thank you for all the supporters. This has been an amazing, I feel like my Facebook friends and my family and have been amazing, and my team. So thank you everyone for helping me on this new journey.
Awesome. All right, everyone have a great day.
Thank you.